Hi, this is JC with the Suggs group, and today I want to round out my Actinos series with talking about Actinos cleaning. So if you do a home environment test and your endotoxins and mycotoxins are low but your Actinos are high, this might be really great news because it means you don't have to remediate. You might just need to do one big cleaning and then maintenance cleaning moving forward to mitigate any Actinos buildup in your home. Actinos are in your environment, so you'll do a small particle clean, one deep, thorough cleaning, take everything out, small particle clean it before you bring it back in, clean your walls, clean your baseboards, everything. Your provider will give you a specific protocol. If you want to see what has worked for members of our group, you can join us over at thesuggsgroup.com. And then the second part is cleaning yourself. Disgustingly, Actinos love to eat dead skin cells, so you want to wash yourself with a tea tree soap in the shower and exfoliate well. Exfoliate like you're about to go commit a crime and you don't want to shed any DNA onto that crime scene. That is how you should exfoliate if you have Actinos in your home. I hope you enjoyed these tips and tricks. Again, if you're looking for more resources.
Well, I mean, that's good to know that they say that the Actinos can just be cleaned. So partial agreement on that. That my caveat would be source removal has to be complete, and you have to know that you got all of it because the Actinos populate with the all the other critters, the mold, the mycotoxins, everything. And so the nightmare scenario, and I've got a couple of these going right now. Flip house. I think I've got three of them going. So flip house. I walk up to the front door. Place looks great. A little brick house, little kind of starter house, 1,500 square foot. Trimmed out nice. I mean, it was a flip house, right? And they did a good looking job. I mean, the inside was, it was spot on, man. I mean, just absolutely perfect. Bathroom, everything. Once I got in there and started looking around, what happens in flip houses is, maybe the cabinets could have been detached and cleaned up and some sheetrock removed before they painted everything up and trimmed it out. The master bedroom had been underwater. There had been a water event, and it just had a little 2-inch trim. They had carpet down, so it had 2 layers of tack strip. It had the old tack strip that was rotten, and then it had the brand new tack strip that was unaffected. So when you pull the carpet back in a corner and get a peek, you got two layers, 2 runs of tack strip, one that's contaminated. Mold behind the baseboards in a couple of different spots. So, client doesn't want to hear this, but hey, dude, you've got to flood cut the whole bedroom and bathroom and detach the cabinets, and we've got to clean this thing up like it should have been done before they, did the finish work on it. So, typical flip house, they're cutting every corner. They don't want to spend any extra as opposed to doing it right. They're just gonna fluff it up and put it out there and sell it and move on to the next one. And, instead of spending an extra couple $1,000s to make it a safe environment. And I see that often. So, agree partially with that. I mean, cleaning is, the biggest part of this new decontamination protocol, the scrub, and, but the source has got to be removed. And, as good as I am, I was reminded on that job we just discussed that I can miss stuff. Something that plays into that too is the budget. I mean, and it drives me crazy because a lot of these speakers, at these conferences and online and classes and stuff, they always say, well, it can't be about the money. Well, it's always about the money. I can't walk through the door and say, hey, we're going to spend a couple $1,000 and I'm going to be real thorough. They're going to go, no, we're not. I mean, somebody priced me at $500, $400 to do a mold inspection, and they think, well, hell, if somebody comes in doing a mold inspection, they're going to find all the mold. That's guaranteed. Well, no, there's a pretty good chance they're not. The air samples, so the conventional testing still helps you root out where the problem is. The Hertzme and the Actino test give you a score as to whether that house has an overall problem or not. and then you got to go find it, and it costs money to do that. So it puts my really, I mean, an average test now is about 1,800, whereas just a year ago, average test on a 2,000 square foot house could be done for $650 with just air samples and maybe a swab in a non-medical lane. So there's a big difference between the medical lane and the non-medical lane. So if somebody, when somebody calls me now, the very first thing you qualify: does anybody have health issues in the home? Or are you seeing the doctor? And if the answer is yes, then you go straight into that lane with the Hurts Me and the Actino and the air samples. And I'm actually surprised at how many people are on board and doing that. And then I send that article that we crafted to them. They read that, and it's they're ready to go. So anyway, the days of just pulling spore traps are that's going to be a small percentage of what I do. That real estate pending transactions predominantly, and then that could get fuzzy if you have a chronic client searching for houses and they're wanting to do PCR technology. I don't want to have anything to do with that, because it's a special client with special needs, potentially going to make an offer, get in a contract situation with somebody, get a high score back. You walk through the house, there's, the seller doesn't think they have mold, they don't see anything in the house, and then you get a big score back, and the people cancel, and then the house goes back on the market because there was a mold problem, when the seller can't find a mold problem to fix, and the buyer's like, well, I'm sensitized and I can't be in that house. Well, where's the middle ground? The middle ground to me on that is, you can't ask for something that's not broke, and the PCR technology is special for a special clientele. It's not, it's not needed for me or you, because we got a normal immune system. We can live in this stuff. I grew up in a 125-year-old home. I promise you, was full of mold and bacteria, and I had a normal immune system, and it never bothered me. So contract situations are going to be sketchy. I'm trying to stay away from that. Just do the normal, and then if something's ferreted out with the normal testing. And I had one yesterday, and I just told the guy, his son was sensitized. I said, look, once you own the home, before you move in, let me come back and do the PCR testing, and let's see where you're at. But this is a historic home. It has 3 layers of flooring throughout the whole house. You have wainscots around the entire house, so you got a layer of paneling on the wall. You got 3 layers of flooring had been identified. The place was immaculate. I mean, it's a historic house. I mean, top of the market price point wise. Wilson Park. It'll probably check out. I won't know till Monday. It'll probably check out on the air samples, but that's where you have to be careful as an inspector. When you're relying on just air samples, the client needs to know that's a spore-laden event. We're checking your house for a spore-laden event. You got 3 layers of flooring. There's no telling what could be going on in between those layers. So just know that. So that's a little mold inspector 101 there.
Have you guys done any questionnaire development that's oriented towards symptom identification?
Yes, every person that takes their visual contrast test will undergo a symptom analysis.
So the visual contrast, that's something that every client needs to do. He charges $15 for that.
Analysis and a symptom discussion, and we look to see if there's cluster analysis, a statistical function of saying yes or no based on visual contrast and symptoms.
Yeah, so that's great. That's getting in the functional medicine doctor's job. It's good, for me to go in. I had a client this week. Their labs will come in next week. It was a young couple. He was actually LSU baseball player. His son's one right now, but she's And this is what happens, and this is what is really heartbreaking. She had a great family, and they were certainly sympathetic. But she was as chronic as anybody that I've met. She had the spider senses; she could feel it. So they had checked out of the house. They had 5 kids, and they're probably 35, and 3,500 square foot house, and one of the triplets got into medical trouble. They went to the hospital and they haven't been back to the house. So they bring me in. This is going to be a great case study. So they're going through clothes. So her mom shows up, and I've talked to the mom, I've talked to the husband, I've talked to her, and I did a nice. It was a $2,500 budget on that job. So I did a lot of sampling. So they're in there trying to get clothes together, right? That they can take. She's like, what can I clean? What I need to throw away, and yada yada yada. So we're going through that, and while we're in the 30 minutes that she's in the house with me, with the mom and the husband, I mean, I can hear her start gagging. She said, "Oh, my mouth just went metallic." So she's gagging. Her mouth goes metallic, and she had a mask on, and then her nose just goes full gusher. I mean, full gusher nosebleed. And I'm like, you got to get out of this house right now. Get outside. Don't come back in here. Do not, take any of these contents into the house where you're living. If they're going to take them to the laundromat somewhere and OxyClean them, that might be good enough. We don't know that that's good enough. So be very cautious. I mean, she full on went just 911. It was terrifying. So on first look, walking through this house, I had it looked normal. There wasn't any anything that just jumped out. I'm not ready to pull that file, but just off the top of my head, so the breakfast nook and my ATP tester, which I've owned forever, and I just haven't used as much as I should because the swabs have to be refrigerated, and I'm breaking out on every job now, are real helpful on this one in particular. So I found the breakfast nook in the kitchen needs to be completely gutted. It's a hot spot. The kitchen cabinets, suspects, may or may not get pulled. Classic dead valley. When you approach the house, if the house has a dead valley, it means that water is impacting the side of the house at the roof line because of the construction methods. So when I walked through the door, I'm checking, and everything's wainscoted in the office and the dining room, so you can't really get back there. So it's a top target. So I pull a receptacle cover and I'm tapping the wall and getting nothing visible. My air sample comes back a max count, 75,000 catonium. So the dining room's hot. The office, I got a smaller number, but it was on the other side of the dead valley, so it's getting cut. So the office is contaminated, the dining room's contaminated, the breakfast nook's contaminated. I can't remember from there what else is contaminated, but they had 4, maybe 5 hot spots in the house that were concealed, nothing obvious, and she is nothing short of stroking out right in front of me. And the family, and I got some of this while we were talking before all that happened, and I took the time and I slowed them down and I said, look, what she's experiencing, and all, she had like 50 samples in bags that she had collected over time. I mean, she had a box full of them and she was pulling them out. She had them all laid out. It's crazy to everybody else, right? She's crazy. I mean, and her mom and husband, they've been very patient but they see all these symptoms firsthand, and that's what's always put them in the crazy category before we had diagnosis and were on to what was going on here. I've had these clients for years, back before we knew what was happening. And anyway, that's just, the cautionary tale there is that symptoms were telling her that she needed to get out of the house. You got 5 kids, the husband's jacked, he's in perfect health, nothing's affecting him. The parents might be going, yeah, we get it, she's having some, but she's being a little crazy and this is over the top. And then I show up and I don't even have the Hertzmeyer or that Tino back yet. But I mean, that house is a no-go zone for her. I mean, and it'll be a $70,000 redo. And they're gonna need to stay there, just given the financial circumstances. And even though, according to them, the house is not near big enough now with the triplets on the scene. Cautionary tale for clients, take everything that all of them say serious. They, when they're in that Sears category, they've got literally brain damage and they've got super spider sensitivities where they can taste stuff and feel stuff when they walk in a room. And, it's our job to ferret it out and fix it. And, these PCR testing is such a huge step in that direction in diagnosing the house so that we can get it right so they can move back into it.
It doesn't smell like anything in here. If you can get your house to a point where you actually can't smell anything, that's a good sign.
Well, yeah, so basically clean is the absence of smells.
Yeah, not Febreze.
It's not Febreze. We want to add smells because we've been indoctrinated, think about growing up, everyone used bleach, right? So you associate this clean smell,
true.
This clean home with the smell of bleach. You've been programmed to honestly think that clean means a chemical smell or fragrance. And that's what clean is. No, it's actually the absence of smells. When I walk in somewhere and I smell something, I'm immediately like, why do I smell this?
Yeah, I've always preached that to clients. So yesterday, it was a Friday job. Contract pending, investor, out-of-state investor, little track house over here in Springdale. And, it all tile, floors, and the house was, it was nice enough. And you open, and the real estate agent was a young guy, probably one of his first jobs, maybe just out of college. And I opened the door and walk in and I said, look, this is a teaching moment for you. I said, when you smell that, when you walk in the door, depending, and I've had clients, I have requested that clients remove all the plug-ins and fragrances from the house and let the client come back and reassess 2 or 3 days later. I can't tell you how many times. I would go maybe just short of 100 or somewhere, maybe 50, where that was significant. So this house, Friday we walk in, it's knock you down with that smell. They had found something in a bathroom that had water damage that they had sheetrock back over, and the buyer was wanting that penetrated to check and see if there was damage there that they just covered up. So that was the whole deal with getting me there, going to this one area, and the real estate guy's taking me to that area, and he said, all we care about is this spot right here. That's all we care about. And I said, well, it doesn't work like that. I have to investigate the whole house. And I said, we've got this Febreze strong smell, and some people like that, but a lot of times that's cover up. So I immediately go to the kitchen cabinet, open the doors, mold everywhere. The cabinets have to come out, be detached, new cabinets, tear out the wall behind it. I get around, the bedroom windows are suspects, below the windows. Driving down the street into the neighborhood, one house was getting, you could tell where they had a window package problem, the way they had the siding off the house and the windows taped. So immediate, tell there, and they were less expensive tract houses. But the bathroom, so I get in the area that they're worried about, and they wanted me to drill a hole and take a wall cavity sample. Well, hell, I didn't need to. I could smell it, and my nose doesn't work. He's like, we got a sheetrock guy coming in behind you to patch your holes. That was part of the agreement. And I said, well, I don't need any holes, so don't worry about it. So I pulled an air sample in the linen closet and closed the door that was wet adjacent to it was the damaged area they were concerned about. So long story short, heavy fragrance smells. That house needed both bathrooms completely demoed and the kitchen demoed. And the windows were suspect. But it smelled good. By God, when you walked in the house, it smelled great, if you like plugins. So, yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly. And that's, on these air purifiers, which I'm a huge fan of, everybody needs 2 or 3. I love for it to have a legitimate charcoal filter in it. And that's your VOCs and knocks down the smells. So.